Hello, founders and investors. Welcome back to Next Round Ready. I'm your host, Chris. Today we have a very, very special guest. I've been waiting months for this. Yuko Oaku from the University of Washington. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris. It's so nice to be here.
So I would love for you to tell the audience what you do at the University of Washington.
Sure, yeah. My name is Yuko Oaku. I'm the assistant director at the Buerk Center for Entrepreneurship. So those of you who are not familiar, Buerk Center for Entrepreneurship is a, entrepreneurship hub at the University of Washington. And I manage our Dempsey Startup Competition, which is the biggest startup competition we have, and our accelerator and incubator programs.
That's such a big deal because I don't know if everybody's aware, but Seattle is in like the top 10 in terms of like startup hubs. I would say like top 5,
hmm
honestly, in the world. Because outside, I think when people can't get to San Francisco, a lot of them still come here to Seattle, like it's like so close. So a lot of people end up here in the Seattle kind of Bellevue area.
Yeah, and then I think we are very fortunate because, University of Washington just attracts so many different kinds of people. And, and it's really what we try to do at the Burke Center is really to bring different students who are studying different things, from computer science to engineering to business and so on.
Yeah, and so how does that work? How does the program exactly work for the students? Because I literally saw some data from Carter the other day that it showed like a breakdown of like where the top founders come from. And even University of
hmm
Washington is like right there. It's in a conversation
hmm
with Stanford and MIT. And that's just, I mean, it's incredible when you really think about how many universities are in the country and just where Washington is on that list. It's like quality founders come from UW, man. Like it's very clear the data shows it.
hmm So we do like so many things. So it's hard to put it into just like a really, concise words, but we kind of help students where they're at, right? So we have academic programs, you can get a minor and even like masters in entrepreneurship, and you can get certificate programs. And we do have a lot of cohort programs. So, community is really key, right? And we do that in different settings. So we do have like undergrad program called the Labing program, and we have women's entrepreneurial leadership program for women. And then we also are running an incubator program that's brand new this winter, getting a very, very early stage student founders together in a community to, really do a sprint style incubator in 10 weeks. So there are, and also the Dempsey competition that I talked about is a big part of our program, where we have three different competition offering. We have the Health Innovation Challenge, Environmental Innovation Challenge for those who want to work in health and environmental solutions, but the Dempsey is just anything under the sun. And through this process, they get to engage with 300 plus judges from the community, and really including investors, right? And the major investing firms here in Seattle. So it's really a great way to get feedback and brush up on their business plan and see where they go from there. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to start and launch a company at the end. It's really for them to kind of get the practice of entrepreneurship. And then some people do end up taking that idea and launching the company afterwards.
Love the way you have it set up because the business plan part is something that a lot of founders outside of the right incubators never go through. Like I meet a lot of
Mhm.
founders who they never have like the solid business plan breakdown. And how important is that in the process?
I think I don't, it's hard to say how important, but I think it helps people think about it as a business. I think one of the common mistakes or common pitfalls a lot of students fall into is like they fall in love with their solution, right? Fall in love with their idea.
Yes.
And they're like, this is the best thing and everybody's gonna love it. So I think having this process of going through the competition and thinking about different criterias that we look for, right? Who's your team? What's the market? What makes you different? And even the financials. I think thinking about those things from the start really kind of sets them up to think about their idea as a business and not just a cool project that they're working on.
I agree. I think a lot of founders fall into that trap of they kind of get married to, and what I learned from
Hmm.
investors is you should marry the problem and date the solution. Like literally be open to the solution changing because the best startups have to pivot. That's just some of the billion-dollar companies we have existing now started as one thing and there's something else now. So how do mentors bring value inside of this community that you have?
So much, right? So we really couldn't have done anything without our mentors. Mentors engage in different capacity from, just being a judge to being like a program mentor. So through our accelerator program, we match the teams with mentors who are sort of working in the field that they are working on. Let's say if a company is working on a hardware solution, printing, 3D printing, which is a team we have currently in the accelerator, we bring in someone who has that expertise. But we also bring in people who are more of a kind of a generalist or, people with, let's say, a very specific knowledge like legal field or investing or something like that. So we give like a very well-rounded support to the teams that we're helping during the accelerator program.
I love that. I love it. So I have to ask you this because it's such the craze right now in the startup world. What's happening with AI at the University of
Mhm.
Washington?
That's a very interesting question. And it's the one that we honestly, kind of are trying to grasp, right? As we, because I've been in this role for 4 years now. It's my fifth Dempsey Startup Competition. And this was not a topic, right? 4 years ago. But you
Yeah.
could see a huge, this past couple of years, obviously, I think students are very much on board. They are, I feel like they know how to use AI and also incorporate AI in their startups. We are running an incubator program. I would say maybe a third of them are kind of utilizing AI as their kind of foundational technology, right? So I don't think there's, any I think there's a huge opportunity, but I think for us as a university and the Burke Center is really being, we always say being careful with protecting your, IP and your idea, and also that's something that we tell our judges and mentors as well is that to, not just like put it out in the public,
Yeah.
chat GBT or something like that. So, I think it's a really difficult balance, I think, between being able to utilize it, but also protecting your unique idea and, IP and so on.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's if you look at the numbers from the last like 2 years, the AI companies are getting the most funding. So do you
Hmm.
plan on having like a competition just that's like just for the AI companies? Is that something we could see at UW in the future?
Probably not as big as our, at the Burke Center. There are a lot of like hackathons. I think that's something that we're seeing this year is that there's a lot more hackathons happening this academic year just because of that, I think. Like it's so fascinating, right? Like all these vibe coding tools and everything that, it will take like 6 months to build an app, but now you can just like type it up and, have
It's just
something in
there.
like, 10 minutes or something. So that's super exciting. I think, what Burke Center has been around for over 30 years. The Dempsey competition, we've been running for 29 years. So I think we've seen many different waves, right, of
Yeah.
different technologies coming up. So I don't know, if you'll jump into making something for AI, we are kind of supporting students, but also kind of, holding on to a foundation of entrepreneurship and building programs that, are sustained over time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally understand. And that's why I want to have a conversation with you because you've seen so many founders come and go. You've seen just a lot of mentors, I'm sure, that just work with you on a lot of different levels. And I think it really helps the community here because, again, the Seattle area is doing very well in terms of just the startup space overall. And I think the universities play a huge role in helping the economy of startups flourish. Like Silicon Valley wouldn't be what it is without Stanford being right there. all
Hmm.
works together in unison. And so where do you see the kind of the future going with UW and your role there?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I think well, I can't think about like 10 years from now, but just like I think what I'm kind of seeing in this kind of current, in the current climate, I think it is a very exciting time for entrepreneurship. We do see a lot more interest. Like for instance, for the Dempsey competition, when I started, I think we had about 80 applications or something, and our competition's open to 5 different states. It's not just UW Seattle, but you can be from Oregon, Alaska, British Columbia, and Idaho as well to apply. And then it grew to 174 applications last year. So, there's a drastic growth in the number of applicants. And I think, the economy being what it is right now, a lot of layoffs happening around the tech industry. I think like, I'm seeing a lot of like sort of, from the students, like kind of push towards
Panic?
like entrepreneur, like not panic, but also like there are students who are panicked, right? Oh no, like I have a CS degree, like, but I can't find a job after. But there are students who are, a lot of them who are like turning that energy into, oh, I'm gonna make something of my own, right? I have
Yeah.
this idea and I'm gonna make that happen. And I think what we're trying to really help with is that, like, turning that energy into making, if they want to, making an idea and, kind of helping them through the incubation process.
Yeah, I was definitely going to bring up that part because we know Microsoft is here, Amazon is here, and we're seeing a lot of the layoffs. And me personally, when I go to events and I take the show to venture mechanics or
Hmm.
I'm interviewing at different accelerators around the city, I do feel a sort of an intensity from people now where people are more driven to start their own thing because of the layoffs. I think it's definitely
Hmm.
getting in people's heads now
Hmm.
that the world is changing, the way technology is moving so fast. So I guess panic is a really aggressive word, but I would say
Hmm.
that there's more like urgency. People are more
Hmm.
urgent right now. That's kind of what I'm
Yeah.
seeing.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, how do you see that really on a campus in terms of majors? Have you seen just more students overall focusing on entrepreneurship versus the traditional, like you said, the CS degrees and stuff like that? Like, are you seeing more inflow from the students, not just the competition?
Yeah, like I think things are I think we are seeing, for instance, like I shared that we launched the incubator program in January, and for that program we ended up accepting 11 teams, but we had over 50 teams apply with over 100 applicants. And I think, you know, we are seeing a mix of different majors. I think, I think we are definitely seeing more computer science students getting into entrepreneurship. I think the students are perhaps more focused on like more corporate, pathways, but I think they are definitely seeing entrepreneurship as a way forward as well. And I think also the business students, we always have business students coming to us as well. And so I think it is encouraging also to see a mix of very students who have very technical skills like engineering, computer science, and also students with like business degrees and business backgrounds coming
Yeah.
together to form teams, which is, I think, might be difficult, in a non-academic setting. I think that's what makes, center and the program interesting, because we are able to create these places where these different talents can meet together.
That makes so much sense because it's like that's like the perfect place to find a co-founder. Like if
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
for
that you're
sure.
technical and you have the degrees in that space and you've taken the classes and you're just acing them all and you're killing it, and I'm like learning sales and marketing and stuff, you can kind of create the perfect team through just going through the
Hmm.
different classes. Like that's kind of perfect.
Yeah, I think it's, incubator and then also the competition. It's a very intensive process. Like the whole Dempsey competition is only 8 weeks, and there's a lot of deliverables that they have to go through. So I think it's a really great way to kind of test each other out as well,
Yes.
to see if you can work together and if your skills are complementary, right? Like, it's, you know, like one person is not perfect. So there's going to be things that you're very good at and you're not very good at. So I think, it's a great place also to test whether you're a good match that way as well.
I 100% agree. I get a lot of questions from founders about that. How do I find a co-founder? What should I do? Where should I go?
Mm-hmm.
And I think in school is probably going to be the best place to start in a program
Mm-hmm.
like this. And from your perspective, what advice would you give to the students before these kind of competitions start? Because if it's only 8 weeks, that sounds intense. If you still got classes and stuff, you got to balance personal life and everything, and you're trying to win this
Mm-hmm.
competition, it just sounds like it could be overwhelming to a lot of
Mm-hmm.
founders.
I always tell students to take it one step at a time. It is overwhelming, right? And they are busy with classes and so on. Yeah, I think, yeah, just to take it one step at a time. And I think for the competition, it's really different stages. Like, for instance, the online screening round with the application stage is obviously different from the investment round stage where they have to actually interact with a lot of investment round judges. So, just to kind of, I think it goes with anything in life. Just kind of take it into steps, right? And then make the task more manageable for you to kind of chew on.
I love it. I love it. I want to get a little bit more into your personal background, because I
Mm-hmm.
think the people who get to work with founders and investors and even students often it puts you in a position of life that's really unique where you're always learning a lot about people. And so with
Mm-hmm.
your position in this program, like what's your favorite aspect of it?
Yeah, I just love being able to connect with founders and students who are working on something. And then also, really seeing the impact of the programs I'm creating. Just a side note, like I used to work for the United Nations, so a big international organization
Wow.
where, obviously that the aim of that organization is to create impact in whatever the field that they are working on, right? So I think I mean, I liked the job and it was meaningful, but I think it was really difficult to see the impact of the programs I was creating on the ground because you're kind of far away from the beneficiaries,
Yeah, yeah.
in that setting. But I think what I really love about my role right now is every day I get to talk to students who are part of the programs that we're running and really just help them in different ways that they are seeking support, and then just to see the impact right away. So I think that's really rewarding. And I think another thing I think is great is to be able to see the journey, right? Because it's a university. So you often get to see someone coming in as a freshman and then graduating seniors in 4 years.
Yeah.
Seeing that journey is really rewarding as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you get to kind of be on the ground, like boots on the ground, and like be able to reach out and
Hmm.
touch people, and students can come to your office and ask questions and stuff. And it's just a really good way to be more valuable. Not saying other things that we do aren't valuable, but when people can just come to you and ask those questions, for me, I always love that personal interaction because I'm a people
Hmm.
person, honestly. So I love going to the events and all of that stuff.
Hmm.
I had questions about that. So with the all the different programs and all the different competitions you run, what does that winning day look like? Right. So is it like this big event, this big blowout? How do you run those?
The competition. So yeah, so we are for the Dempsey competition, we have as I shared different phases. So in the beginning you got 174 teams. They all go through the screening round, which all their applications will be sent to, 200, 250 judges for online screening. And then they get to the next stage, the top 40 or 36 teams to the investment round, which is a really fun day. We're going to be in Seattle Convention Center this year. And it's a trade show style event where they prepare a booth and they present their idea in whatever the shape or form they would like. So, we have ideas from like hardware to health to like tech to nonprofit. So, you can imagine that like the way they showcase themselves is like very, very unique. And then I
Mm,
think what's super fun about it is that we get about 200 judges that are a lot of them alumni, a lot of them founders, also investors, people with legal backgrounds, and just working professionals in different fields coming together into this one place, right, to interact with students, to give feedback to the idea, but also, it's a great networking opportunity for themselves as well. So yeah, if you're around, I'd love to have you come as well.
I was gonna say that sounds fun because the contrast between like a healthcare company presenting their idea versus like a hardware company is just like that takes some creativity, and I would love to see how
Yeah, yeah.
founders do that because that especially if you're presenting to founders and investors and judges and stuff, and that sounds fun. I love things like that where founders have to sort of step outside of their comfort zone. I think it's another challenging thing that you experience as a founder that can
Hmm.
push you forward. It can make you grow. And that's what I'm always trying to do with my show too. When I bring founders on, is I try to make them
Hmm.
uncomfortable and rattle them a little bit because I just think you need those challenges. Challenges are healthy.
Yeah.
They make you grow as a person.
Hmm. Hmm.
Man, this has been a great conversation. So, anything else you want to let the founders know out there listening? We got investors tuned in. I love your programs. I definitely hope to be able to attend some of the upcoming events that you have.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I think, what I want to share is that a couple things so the Burke Center for Entrepreneurship is kind of focused on students. So we are serving the students, right, from the University of Washington, but also the surrounding states. So if you're a founder in the Seattle area, there are, different ways that you can engage with us. One is being a judge. And also we're looking for partnership opportunities like sponsorships as well. So, feel free to reach out if you're interested in these kind of opportunities. And University of Washington has a tech commercialization office called Commotion Labs, and they do have co-working spaces for tech and life science and hardware where community members can be a part of. So that's also a great resource to look into.
All right, that sounds amazing. Yuko, thank you so much for being here, being an
Yeah.
amazing guest.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was great talking to you.